All right, we are live with another episode of the Public Relations Declassified live stream. And today we're going to be operating with no graphics. We are having some technical issues with the platform, and it's not allowing us to upload the titles or the various other graphics we've got. But all good. We'll roll with this. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to control what ranks for your name, right? We want to control what people see when they Google us. And this is something that's really important from a public relations perspective, because it determines what people see when they search for you online. Now, this can happen in a lot of different ways. Obviously, your prospects, your clients, they're going to look you up. That's going to determine how they perceive you and your brand. But it also impacts journalists. So whether you're pitching yourself for a story or you've got a publicist pitching you, one of the first things a journalist is going to do before they put you in that TV segment or in that article is they're going to go and look you up online and see what they can find about you. So does what they find inspire trust, or does it inspire doubt? Because there's no gray area here. It's going to do one or the other. And if you're not actively taking steps to control what shows up, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. You're going to be subject to the whims of whatever the hell ranks and what people determine from that. So we want to make sure that we've got the most powerful things that we can showing up as highly in the search results as possible. So I'm going to run through a few of the things that you can do to control the search results, to control what ranks in the search results for your name. And this applies both to your personal brand as well as to your company brand. So we want to control that from a reputation management perspective for both. So the lowest hanging fruit, of course, is your own website, right? Your first name, your last name.com, if it's available. If it's not available, you may want to try like one of the non-traditional TLDs like .me or .pro or something like that. But ideally, what you want is your full first and last name as the domain, right? That's going to increase the likelihood that it ranks. This is something called an exact match domain, which means that it exactly matches the term that you're trying to rank for. And that tends to make it easier to rank, right? So when we put up this website, it's not enough just to own the domain, right? You can't just own it and have it parked. We also have to actually put a website up on it. That helps with the ranking, but it also helps with getting other information into the search results. So your homepage itself should be pretty robust. A mistake that I see a lot of people make is they'll put up a fairly basic homepage. There's very little content on it. And there's not really a lot for the search engines to draw any information from a ranking perspective, but also it doesn't really do a good job of conveying who you are and what you do and what kind of value you bring to the equation. So this is something we want to go robust. We want to talk about your background, talk about your experience, your accomplishments, things like that. The more information you can provide, within reason, of course, right? Because we know some people can definitely get on and talk. And it gets to a point where it's maybe a little bit too much. Most people don't have that problem. They have the opposite problem. They don't say enough. They don't give enough context. They don't give people enough reasons to choose them over someone else. And that's what your personal brand website can do. All right. So in addition to your content being robust, you also want to have images. So anything that's like media logos, for example, where you've got the, as seen in, and then all the media logos. Those should generally be SVG files. That way they're going to load super fast. They're really optimal format for that. You're aiming for a smaller file size to speed up the load. But when it comes to your photographs, you on stage, you receiving an award, a screenshot of you on TV, something like that. Those you want to be JPEG images typically, and you want them to be larger, right? High resolution, high quality photos tend to rank well in Google search. And then videos. So videos, Of course, you're going to put them up on YouTube. You can also from there embed them in your website. But this is taking over a couple of different things. One, it's going to populate that video tab. And we'll take a look here in a second. I've got a screen share queued up. Even though we can't load images today for some reason, we can load a screen share. So I'm going to be showing you guys some of the things that I'm talking about here in just a second. But getting those videos up on YouTube helps to take more real estate, so to speak, in the search results. But it also gives you good, high quality content you can then embed on your own website. So, you know, in my case, for example, I've got my YouTube channel, which if you're not already subscribed, make sure you head on over there and hit that subscribe button. But I've got, you know, every week when we do PRD, the videos go up on YouTube automatically. Then we take that and we embed that. Right now it's on the subdomain for Spartan Community. So, and we're also in the process of rebuilding my own personal brand website, which is going to also contain links to all of those. So basically this now becomes, it improves how you're seen in the search results, both because it's populating videos in the search results, but also because now you have more assets on your existing websites, your personal brand website and your company website, that with those videos embedded, that's going to keep people on there longer, which of course sends all kinds of good signals to Google that that content is good, it's useful, people like it. So they tend to then rank it better. And then of course we've got content. We want to put out articles. If we've got videos, like I mentioned before, we want to embed those. That's what I do with every PRD episode. It goes up, it's got the video, but it's embedded directly from YouTube. And then of course we've got all the information that we put up in the description as well. All of that goes into the description. So now we've got all kinds of content on the website. We've got a constant stream of fresh content, and then we're driving them back to YouTube. So we're getting the best of both worlds there. When it comes to the content, we want to write good, comprehensive articles. We want to share information that's useful to people, even if they never choose to do business with us, right? You want them to be able to take that information and do something with it. Maybe it's accomplish a particular goal, perform a task, avoid a particular problem that may affect them and they don't know about it. There basically needs to be some kind of value that they can get out of that content, regardless of whether they do business with you or not. Now, when you put all of these things into place on your personal brand website, 99.9 times out of 100, it will be the first thing that ranks on Google for your name. For a lot of people, it's either their personal brand website or their LinkedIn profile. But if you optimize it properly, you create all the content like we're talking about, you structure everything like we're talking about, then that will almost always be the top result. And the beauty of this is now it's kind of like your headquarters. It's got all of the information about you and what makes you valuable. But then you can also use it to push out signals basically to the search engines, to all of the other things that you own or that you control or that promote you in some way. So for example, we would create a press page on your personal brand website, and then that links to all of your media features. That helps them rank higher. That helps them get found by Google. So now that's playing a role in improving your overall authority status. So this becomes a really powerful asset when you get the pieces put together properly and really get everything optimized and refined. Okay. When it comes to the images we're putting up on the websites, you want to optimize these. So your file names, right? If you've got photos of yourself doing various things, speaking on stage, maybe receiving an award, being on TV, whatever the case may be, name those images with your first and last name, right? The same way that you want it to rank for. And you'll probably have to add some kind of modifier, right? It may be, you know, Joe Smith stage, Joe Smith industry event 2026, whatever. Some differentiation between the different ones, because you don't necessarily just want to have, you know, Joe Smith 1, Joe Smith 2, Joe Smith 3. You want to give some additional context. We also want to make sure that we're putting in alt tags. So this is something on the back end in the HTML that most people never really see, but it gives search engines and it gives screen readers insight as to what that image is actually about. Now, I like to do I like to include the name here again, but then also, depending on the situation, perhaps some additional context. All right. And then title tags. All of your posts, all of your pages, all of that stuff needs to have your personal name in the title. The more pages you have with your name in the title, the more likely your website is to rank higher in the search results. Schema can be really important as well. There was some talk recently that Google is no longer paying attention to the FAQ schema. I don't think that quite means what most people think it means, but a lot of people have already been stripping FAQ schema out of their websites. I don't think you need to necessarily do that, but there's a whole host of schema. There's schema for articles, there's schema for video, there's schema for people, entities, right? All kinds of different things. You want to try and include as much schema on your website as possible. And this is something that, again, this is behind the scenes. No human ever sees it. It's just something that the bots, that the crawlers, whether it be for search engines or for AI tools, uses to develop additional context about a piece of content. Size. So bigger is better. The larger the image, assuming it's a high quality image, right? Don't just take a small little shitty image and blow it up because it's going to be all pixelated and garbage. But if you get a good, high quality, crisp, professionally taken photos, usually those come in at a resolution that's suitable for printing, which means you can make them pretty damn big for the web. I like to use something called source set so that I'm not embedding images that are too big, because that does slow down the page load. But if you've got a variety of sizes available on the back end and it's only serving the one that's appropriate for that particular screen size, then you kind of get the best of both worlds here. The higher res, the bigger, the better, the higher quality, all of that plays a big role in where an image ranks in Google. You want to specifically host these on your website. Now, if you are using something like a CDN, that's okay because it's still basically a symbolic link. So not a problem there. And then you also want to host them on other authoritative websites. So completely separate version of the image, right? You're uploading it directly to these other websites. But some examples would be like Wikimedia, Wikimedia, not Pedia. Wikimedia is the place where all of the photos and whatnot that Wikipedia draws from live. Crunchbase, if I remember correctly, you can upload some photos there. IMDb, you can absolutely upload photos. Your Google business listing, you can upload photos. So there's a lot of third-party sites where you can put your photos up. And then if somebody searches for you, they're a lot more likely to show up in the search results. So you're building more of that authority status. When it comes to videos, we're going to go through the same basic process we go through anything else, right? We're going to optimize the title. We're going to optimize the description, add tags, add a good engaging thumbnail. We want to make sure that people are going to actually click on the videos. It doesn't do any good for them to just be there. They have to be there and people have to click on them and watch them so that A, they hear your message, B, it's signaling to YouTube that this is good content and that they should show it to more people. So we want to optimize all of this to maximize the number of views, the engagement that we get on those videos. And then we want to build and optimize all of your social profiles. So this is important because, first of all, it's free, it's easy. Anytime there's a platform, you can just go ahead and create a profile up there, optimize it for your name. So that means you're going to have a good headshot. You're going to have a cover photo, a bio, links if applicable. You're going to have lots of content and you're going to try to earn lots of engagement. So you want your handle. That's the part in the address bar after, usually after .com, but there's probably some platforms that are not .com on social media. But basically everything after the domain. So, mine is just Jeremy Knauff everywhere except Instagram, because for whatever reason, I cannot secure my name, Jeremy Knauff on Instagram. At some point, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do, because I either need to change everything else to Jeremy Knauff PR or change everything across the board to something that's consistent and uniform, right? So you want your name You can add some kind of modifier like I did on Instagram with Jeremy Knauff PR. You can add official or some kind of shit like that. I don't really like that one because it doesn't really mean anything. Plus, official is, in terms of character count, a fairly sizable word, and it really takes a lot of the options away because you do have a limit on how many characters can be in your handle. That varies by platform. But ideally, you want it to be your first and last name. You may need to add some kind of modifier, but whatever it is, you want it to be consistent across all the platforms. You don't want a different user handle on X than you have on Insta, than you have on Facebook, so on and so forth. So try to get those the same. That's going to help with the ranking. Obviously, you want your display name to be your name, not some random thing. And, basically just the more signals you can put in there that help these things rank, the better. And then, like I said before, the more content you have, the more stuff you're constantly posting that's demonstrating your expertise, that's also creating more pages, so to speak, underneath your profile. So that helps for your stuff to rank higher in the search results. So definitely get out there, get active, get engaged, and create a real audience, right? When you have that, that's telling the search engines that this profile is useful, it's valuable. All right, the next thing we're going to do is leverage guest posting. So this is a strategy that I love. This is something I kind of stumbled on back in the old SEO days. And I was initially doing it primarily from a backlink perspective, right? Trying to get backlinks to help improve the ranking of a particular page or a particular website or whatever. But it's an incredibly powerful PR strategy as well, because pretty much every media outlet, whether it's a one-person show or something like Fox or CNN, they have to create a ton of content to draw in the eyeballs, which then determines how they're able to charge advertisers. So if you can provide them with useful content, they're very likely to take your content, publish it under your name, and you get all the benefit that comes from that. So you get that authority status, right? You've got a trade publication, you've got a local media outlet, you've got a national media outlet, whatever. If you're able to post there, you're able to publish articles, that says something about who you are. That says something about your expertise, because they've come to you to have you share your expertise with their audience. And those author pages also tend to rank very well, right? It's living on an authoritative website. It's a media outlet, so it tends to have a lot of traffic, and it tends to have a lot of inbound links. Tends to be a lot of things that signal to Google and the other search engines and the AI tools as well, for that matter, that this person is relevant, they're credible, they are an authority in their industry. And a lot of times you'll have the opportunity to link to your website from the author page, right? You'll have that bio there. More often than not, there's an opportunity to put a link in that bio pointing back to your website. So now you're getting even more juice, because not only do you get that authority status from writing for that outlet, but you also get a rankings boost to your own website, because this high profile website is linking to yours. And then finally, we want to build links to all of these digital assets. So our own website, the articles that we've been featured in, the articles that we've contributed to various outlets, social media profiles, listings in any kind of website like IMDb, Crunchbase, Wikipedia, things like that. We want to build backlinks to all of those assets. So social media is essentially the lowest hanging fruit here. You can always post a link on social media. That's nice and easy. Minimal impact on search, but it does drive organic traffic if you've got an audience that's engaged and they're, liking your stuff, commenting on your stuff, clicking on your links, all of that. Then that signals to analytics that that content is useful, and it will tend to rank a little bit higher. The other way we can do this is from the articles. So the guest posts, like we talked about a second ago, press releases, media features, right? You may have the opportunity to, maybe you wrote a great article on a topic that really covers it in depth, and you're being interviewed on TV about that topic. In some cases, that journalist may be willing to link to your in-depth article. So there's a lot of different ways to build links to all of these various assets that you own. And then we've also got Black Hat, right? This is the shadier side of SEO. This is using automation and software to basically spam the internet with a shitload of links, specifically to influence what ranks where. I will tell you that if you want to get into Black Hat, just be prepared. It's going to be a little bit tougher than you're probably expecting. You're going to need to have a pretty deep technical background. The tools for these kind of strategies are not really very intuitive. They're not user-friendly. They're made more for people with a development background. They understand the coding world and all of that. So you can use Black Hat tactics, just be prepared for a pretty steep learning curve, but it is incredibly effective. It's something that we still use every day. I mean, we're typically building upwards of, 1 million links a week through some of the various campaigns that we're running at any given time. So it is a good strategy to control what ranks where, but there is a heavy learning curve on it, and it does require a fairly substantial investment in terms of software knowledge and the actual work to do this, to make it happen. But definitely worthwhile. It's incredibly effective. So that being said, I do want to run through a quick screen share with you guys. I know we were talking about some of the various things that show up in the search results. I'm going to pull up mine and run you through a few examples, jumping back to some of the things that we talked about in today's session. So if we pop over here to the search results for my name, first thing you'll see, of course, is this wonderful knowledge panel, right, across the top and then down the side. And this fluctuates in terms of what's in there from time to time. Sometimes it's got more stuff here in this right column, sometimes less. These various cards may change from time to time. The images may change. But this is an example. So this photo, for example, is actually not on my website. It's listed on IMDb, Internet Movie Database. So IMDb is considered a very authoritative source in Google. So that shows up pretty damn prominently. I'm going to have to swap that out because that is old pre-beard Jeremy. This one is probably LinkedIn if I had to guess. Nope, that one's Facebook. What's this one? Okay, that one's LinkedIn. So this is what a knowledge panel looks like. And like I said, this is something that pops up algorithmically. Google determines if you're authoritative. And if they consider you authoritative, then you'll earn this knowledge panel. I talked about the domain, the personal brand domain, usually ranking the #1 spot, which is exactly where mine is. I'm in the middle of a big redesign for my own right now, so stay tuned. That'll be kind of interesting. 2 of my social media profiles where I'm fairly active. Then we get into some of the articles that I've written at various places. So I have a column at National Association of Realtors. That author page ranks really well, like I mentioned. So this is huge. This is a good signal to Google, but it also controls another spot in the search results. Then we get down to video. So these are all my previous live stream / podcast episodes. So I have complete control there. Muckrack is basically a database of journalists. So my page for that, or my profile, ranks well. There's my IMDb. Another place I have a column at, my Amazon author page, and then of course my YouTube channel. So even if we go further in, we'll continue seeing more stuff that I have controlled what ranks where, right? There's numerous other columns. We've taken effort to push those columns further up in the ranking. We've got images here, like we talked about. And like I said, the better the images, the more likely they are to show up in the search results. And, we just keep going down and we just see more and more of this stuff. So we've got numerous assets that are basically taking over the first several pages of Google. And this is something that we all need to do, right? Whether it's traditional search like Google or Bing, or whether it's an AI tool like Chat, Perplexity, Grok, whatever. people are going to look you up before they get involved with you, right? Whether it's a potential prospect, client, something like that, or it's a journalist looking you up before they put you in a story. This is something we have to take control of. And the entrepreneurs who do that are going to get far better results than the ones that don't. So I encourage you guys very strongly to put what I'm talking about here into practice. It's not super complex. It's not like they say, rocket surgery. It is a fairly basic thing. It just requires consistent effort. But if you put that effort in, it's going to have a huge impact. It's going to become leverage in everything else that you do. So I encourage you guys to do that. That being said, we're going to roll into Jeremy's PR PSA for the day. And since we have no graphics, you'll just have to look at my mug while I'm talking here, I guess. There's no graphic for it today. But Jeremy's PR PSA for today is what people find when they look you up online will either strengthen or weaken your brand. So you need to control the search results. If you don't have control of it, you're basically putting everything to chance, and that can have a huge negative impact on your brand, which then spills over into every other aspect of business. So take control of the search results, get out there, put as much useful content out there as you can on social media, on your website, on other platforms, and take control of the search results. And I guarantee you, you're going to see far more leverage in everything else that you do. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. Hope you all got a lot of value out of this. If you did, I'd love it if you drop us a comment, subscribe if you're not already. And if there's somebody you think of that could benefit from this, then let them know about it. Invite them to the free group, send them a link, whatever, right? Let's help spread the word so that more people can benefit from this information. All right, guys, that's a wrap for today, and I will see you on the next episode.